In a narrow English street, where fog often lingered longer than it should, there once stood an old house that heard everything. It heard footsteps long before dawn. It heard whispered thoughts that were never spoken aloud. And one night, it heard a heart that refused to be silent. This is not a tale of madness shouted into the dark, but of patience practiced in silence. A story of two men, one young, one old, bound together under a single roof in Victorian England, and between them an eye, pale, clouded, watching. Tonight, listen closely, not for screams, but for the quiet sounds that come before them. The house was old even by English standards. Its wooden floors bent with age, and its walls carried the scent of coal smoke and time. The young man lived there as a caretaker, sharing the space with an elderly gentleman who trusted him completely. By day, their life was simple. Meals were shared quietly. Doors were locked at dusk. Lamps were kept low. But by night, the house belonged to listening. The old man was gentle and harmless. He spoke softly and walked slowly. He had never raised his voice nor caused the young man any harm. Yet there was one thing the young man could not endure: the eye. One eye was pale blue, covered by a thin, cloudy film. When it opened and turned toward him, the young man felt a cold move through his body, not fear, but disturbance, as though something inside him was being examined. Slowly, quietly, the thought took hold. If the eye were gone, peace would return. The young man planned with precision. For 7 nights, just past midnight, he opened the old man's door inch by inch. He carried a lantern closed tightly, allowing no light to escape. He moved so slowly that an hour could pass without a sound. Each night, the old man slept. Each night, the eye remained closed. And each morning, the young man greeted him warmly, speaking kindly, hiding every trace of what he intended. On the 8th night, something changed. The lantern slipped slightly. The old man stirred. In the darkness, neither moved. For a long time, only breathing filled the room. Then the young man opened the lantern just enough. A thin ray of light fell directly upon the eye. It was open. And then the sound began. The heartbeat grew louder, faster. The young man waited, holding the lantern steady, until the sound became unbearable. What followed was swift, quiet, final. When silence returned, the eye watched no more. Before dawn, the young man worked carefully. The body was hidden beneath the wooden floor, cut and placed so neatly that nothing appeared disturbed. No stain remained. No mark betrayed the night's work. By morning, the house looked exactly as it always had. The knock came after sunrise. 3 policemen stood at the door. Neighbors, they said, had heard a scream during the night. The young man smiled calmly. He explained the sound had been his own. A bad dream. Confident, relaxed, he invited them inside. As they spoke, a faint sound reached his ears. A low, dull rhythm. The policeman heard nothing. The sound grew louder. The young man spoke faster, louder. He moved about the room, dragging a chair across the floor above the hidden remains. Still, the sound increased. Certain they must hear it now, the young man broke. Pointing to the floor beneath the chair, he cried out that the heart was still beating there, that it had never stopped. The house, at last, was silent again. And so, the house grew quiet again. The old English home, which had listened through the long night, finally rested. The floorboards lay still, the walls held no whispers, and the sound that once filled the darkness was heard no more. Some houses remember more than people do. They keep the weight of footsteps, the echo of careful plans, and the silence that follows when everything has been said. This story now settles where it belongs, like candle smoke, fading into the ceiling, like rain softening against empty streets, like a clock slowing as sleep begins to take hold. If you are listening in the quiet of the night, allow your breathing to slow. Let the sounds of the house around you become distant and harmless. And if you think you hear something far away, remember, some sounds live only in old stories. Sleep well, and good night.